All right, listen up, you mooks. We're about to dive into the story of the Morello crime family. This ain't no bedtime story, capis? We're talking about the real deal, the OG Mafia in the Big Apple. So sit tight and shut your trap, 'cause we're about to take a journey through time, family style. Act 1. The old country roots. Picture this. Sicily, late 1800s. A real shithole, if you ask me. Dirt poor farmers busting their asses just to put food on the table. But among these peasants, there's a kid named Giuseppe Morello. This little bastard's got big dreams, see? He ain't content with shoveling pig shit for the rest of his life. Now Giuseppe's got a half-brother named Niccolo Terranova. These two, they're thick as thieves, literally. They start running small-time scams, picking pockets, that kind of thing. But Sicily's too small for their ambitions. They hear about this place called America, where the streets are paved with gold. Well, that's a crock of shit, but they don't know it yet. So in 1892, Giuseppe hops on a boat and says, "Arrivederci" to the old country. He lands in New York City, and let me tell you, it ain't exactly the promised land. But for a guy like Giuseppe, who's used to eating dirt, even the slums of Little Italy look like paradise. Giuseppe's got a bum right hand. It's all twisted up like a pretzel. But instead of crying about it, he uses it to his advantage. People start calling him the clutch hand, and he wears that name like a badge of honor. Now, this is where things get interesting, capis? Giuseppe, he's a smart cookie. He starts small, running a little protection racket here, a gambling den there. But he's got vision, see? He knows that to make it big, you gotta think big. By 1900, Giuseppe's got himself a nice little crew. He brings over his half-brothers, Niccolo, Vincenzo, and Ciro Terranova. These guys, they're like the Four Musketeers, only instead of swords, they're packing heat. Let's take a moment to introduce these mooks. Niccolo Terranova, this guy's the brains of the outfit. He's got a head for numbers and a talent for organization. Ooh. Niccolo's the one who keeps the books and makes sure everyone gets their cut. Vincenzo Terranova, the muscle of the family. Vincenzo's the guy you send when you need someone roughed up or a message sent. He's got fists like hams and a temper to match. Ciro Terranova, the smooth talker. Ciro's got a silver tongue and a knack for making deals. He's the one who handles negotiations with other gangs and schmoozes with the politicians. The Morello family, they start branching out. They're into everything. Extortion, loan sharking, protection rackets, you name it. But their real bread and butter? Counterfeiting. These guys are printing more fake bills than the U.S. Treasury. Now, here's where it gets juicy. In 1903, the family's involved in the barrel murder. Some poor schmuck named Benedetto Madonia ends up stuffed in a barrel, deader than last week's bacala. The cops, they try to pin it on Giuseppe, but the charges don't stick. This guy's slipperier than an eel covered in olive oil. By 1910, the Morello family is the biggest, baddest crew in New York. They're running the show from their headquarters on East 108th Street. Every wise guy from here to Hoboken is paying tribute to Giuseppe Morello. Act 2. The rise and fall of an empire. Now we're cooking with gas. The Morello family's at the top of their game. They've got politicians in their pocket, cops on the payroll, and more money than they know what to do with. Enter Ignazio Lupo, a.k.a. Lupo, the wolf. This guy, he's Giuseppe's right-hand man and brother-in-law. Lupo, he's a real piece of work. They say he was involved in at least 60 murders. The kind of guy who'd kill you as soon as look at you. He's a major player in the family's counterfeiting operations. But here's the thing about being on top. There's always some punk looking to knock you off your perch. For the Morellos, that punk was one Joe Mafia. This guy's got ambition coming out of his ears. In 1913, disaster strikes. Giuseppe and Lupo get pinched for counterfeiting. They're sent up the river for 30 years each. With the boss behind bars, things start falling apart faster than a cheap suit in the rain. Niccolo Terranova tries to keep things together, but he ain't got the same juice as his brother. The vultures start circling. Joe Mafia, he starts nibbling at the edges of Morello territory. In 1916, all hell breaks loose. Niccolo gets lured to a meeting, thinking he's going to make peace with some rival gang. Next thing you know, he's full of more holes than Swiss cheese. It's a real bloodbath, with bodies dropping left and right. Kiro, the artichoke king Terranova, steps up to fill the void. Yeah, you heard that right. This mook made a fortune cornering the artichoke market in New York. Who knew there was that much dough in vegetables? But don't let the nickname fool you. Ciro's as tough as they come. But the writing's on the wall. The Morello Empire is crumbling. Joe Mafia's grabbing territory left and right. The Irish and Jewish gangs are muscling in on their rackets. And the feds, they're starting to wise up to the whole organized crime thing. By the time Giuseppe gets out of the can in the early 1920s, the landscape's changed. Prohibition's in full swing, and a new breed of gangster has risen up. Guys like Charlie Lucky Luciano, Meyer Lansky, and Frank Costello. These young Turks, they've got different ideas about how to run things. Act 3, The Legacy. Now we're in the home stretch. Boys and girls. The Morello family, they're on the ropes. But they ain't going down without a fight. Giuseppe, he tries to get back in the game. He throws in with Joe Mafia, figuring if you can't beat him, join him. But it's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. In 1930, Giuseppe meets his maker. He's gunned down along with his right-hand man, Joe Pirano. It's the end of an era, capiz? But here's the kicker. The Morello family, they don't just disappear. They evolve. Some of the guys, they join up with Joe Mafia's crew. Others, they throw in with Salvatore Maranzano da Torta. Then comes the Castellamarese War. It's gangland warfare on a scale New York's never seen before. When the dust settles, both Mafia and Maranzano are pushing up daisies, and a new order is established. Charlie Luciano, he sets up the commission, a sort of board of directors for organized crime. And a lot of the old Morello boys, they end up as part of what becomes the Genovese crime family. So, what's the legacy of the Morello family? These guys, they wrote the freaking playbook on organized crime in America, dog. They showed how to build an empire, how to corrupt politicians and cops, how to run rackets on a grand scale. Every wise guy who came after, from Al Capone to John Gotti, they were all just following the blueprint laid down by a one-handed Sicilian immigrant and his brothers. The Morello family, they were the original gangsters. They took the old Sicilian ways and adapted them to the mean streets of New York. They showed that with a little brains, a lot of muscle, and a willingness to do whatever it takes, even a bunch of dirt-poor immigrants could rise to the top. But they also showed the dark side of the American dream. The violence, the betrayal, the constant looking over your shoulder. In the end, Giuseppe Morello died the way he lived, by the gun. Yet the organization he built, the connections he made, the methods he pioneered, they lived on. The 5 families of New York, the Chicago outfit, the Detroit partnership, they all owe a debt to the Morello family. So next time you're watching The Godfather or Goodfellas, remember, Before there was Vito Corleone or Henry Hill, there was Giuseppe Morello, the one-handed bandit who built an empire and changed the face of American crime forever. And that, my friends, is the story of the Morello crime family. From rags to riches to rats in the end. It's a tale as old as time, but with more guns and cannabis. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go see a guy about a thing. Capiche?